Chef Eric here with SteakAger, being a little quiet because it's 7 o'clock in the morning, but I couldn't wait 1 second longer for this. This is a almost 18-pound boneless gold grade ribeye from Snake River Farms. I bought it this week. It came frozen. I allowed it to thaw out in my refrigerator, and we're getting ready to put this in the SteakAger. So I think everyone in my house is up. So I'm going to pump up the volume because I am super excited for this. This is probably the best piece of meat that I have handled. Their gold grade, by the way, is a Japanese marbling rating of 9 or higher. That scale goes to 12. So this is falling in around a 10. And wait till you see this. This is American Wagyu beef. This is got me giddy like a little schoolgirl. I can't wait to get this dry aged. And I'm going to take you along for the journey, as always. So here I'm going to do what we always do, and we're going to use the rack from the SteakAger as our template. I squared off this end, and you'll notice most ribeyes, they have what I'll call the good end. It's a really defined eye. And then they have the other end where it's got not such a defined eye. It's got a little more grizzle in there. So that's the end I'm going to cut from always. We're going to maximize this real estate on the shelf. So I am going to lay the shelf down. I'm going to mark with my knife just inside the outer border of the shelf. Okay. And I'm going to trim this down. Let's see what this side looks like. Got a nice fat cap, and you know the gold grade is their best grade that they have. And just to put it into perspective, the USDA Prime comes in around a 5 or 6 on the marbling scale. So this is quite marbled. So here's the other end, equally as beautiful. That, my friends, is going to be phenomenal. So this piece here, we're going to cut it up into steaks. And of course we're going to taste it because I can't wait until the dry aging is done to taste it. So we're going to taste that. I'll cut it into steaks. I'll save one to do a side-by-side comparison. That's usually my MO when I dry age in my SteakAger. And this is ready to go. So again, I'll show you how beautiful this meat is. All sides, you can just see the marbling throughout. It's gorgeous. So we will come back, of course, for the big reveal once this thing is dry aged. I'm probably going, I'm going to say 35 to 38 days. But again, who knows? Sometimes it changes on the fly for me depending on how things are going. May pull it sooner, may let it go longer, but yeah. And you know, this price-wise, I'm going to say it wasn't so bad. It's came to around $24.50 a pound. So to me, for this grade of marbling, that's not such a bad price. So that's it. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you on the next SteakAger video. Hey, Chef Eric here with SteakAger, back again to continue our video of the gold grade American Wagyu roast that I put in my SteakAger. And I want to make a couple of corrections. The first part of the video, I was referring to this as a ribeye. I knew it was a New York strip, had ribeye on the brain, because this eye is so defined, it almost might as well have been as large as ribeye. Secondly, I had indicated that I was going to dry age this for over 30 days, 35, 38 days. And because of the amazing community on the SteakAger family Facebook page, I was contacted by someone who had the experience, who indicated to me that they went over 30 days and that it was a little too much for such a fine marbled piece of meat. So we're at the 21-day mark, and that's when I decided to pull this. I want to show you a couple of things about this that you're going to see on most all of the subprimals that you dry age in the SteakAger. You'll see the little white specks. These are completely normal. It's some of the fat that comes to the surface, and they just solidify on there. So you'll see a bunch here on the back. You'll see a couple of more defined spotty fat pieces on the front. Completely normal, so don't worry about it. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to grab my scale. I just want to put it on there just to see where we're at here. And this is weighing in at 10 pounds and just about 11 ounces. So 10 pounds, 11 ounces. Okay, so I have a couple of my very sharp knives that I always talk about. And what we're going to do is, we're obviously going to first cut the ends off. This is where a lot of the pellicle comes from, the two ends. And you're going to want to cut it that 1/4 inch, basically as thin as possible. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this pellicle separate from the others, only because it is American Wagyu and the marbling is so incredible. So using my very sharp slicing knife, which is doing a great job cutting through this pellicle. And most of the time this is where you get to see what you have. We have already seen this in the first video. Phenomenal marbling, American Wagyu. American Wagyu is actually crossbred with Japanese Wagyu and Angus, so it is a crossbred product. Okay, so again, I'm going to keep this and do something really special with it. I'm going to flip it around. We'll cut the other end off. This one isn't squared off, so I'm going to try and get it without having to make an additional cut. Just going to let the knife do the work. Now typically I will dry age bone in, but this wasn't available. Bone in, ribeyes were not available bone in, so I went boneless. Here I'll show you what the other end looks like. So I chose this boneless New York strip, obviously. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these a little bit thinner than I normally would, because normally I'll cut 1.5 inches, a 2-inch steak. But because of the richness of this meat, we're going to go closer to 1.25 inches here. So I'm just going to begin cutting. I use my thumb as a little guide for what 1 inch is. So it's going to slightly over 1 inch. I'm going to mark it. I'm going to cut 1 or 2 of these. See what we get as we go deeper into the subprimal. Gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. So I'm going to go one more. Trying to go as evenly as possible. Again, letting the sharpness of the knife do the work. Okay. Beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to cut these steaks, and when we come back, we'll trim off the pellicle and we'll see what we get. Smiling ear to ear. I have here 11 beautiful steaks. They are, most of them are an inch, inch and a quarter. The one on the end was a little bit thicker, which is definitely a luxury problem to have. So before I go ahead and cut the pellicle off of these things, there's one thing I just can't wait to do. And we're going to do it right here on camera. I'm going to slice a couple of very thin pieces of the 21-day dry aged American Wagyu New York strip. And just put it on a plate. Almost like slicing fine prosciutto or jambon de Bayonne. I'm going to put a little bit of salt. And we're going to try this. Smells definitely dry aged. If I tell you, it melts in my mouth. Almost disintegrating. You almost don't need teeth to eat this. This steak is going to be phenomenal cooked. You'll have to bear with me as I give a little piece to our wonderful camera woman. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut some pellicle off. It was phenomenal. So let's get right down to the meat and potatoes of these. Okay, so normally on a non-American Wagyu, I feel like the fat gets a little bit thicker, but I can tell just the way it feels on my hands. This fat is completely different than any other subprimal that I've dry aged to date. So clearly the exposed meat area is definitely a harder pellicle, but this fat is still very soft and very buttery. So I am going to actually minimize the amount that I cut off, and I'm just going to cut off the parts that's a little bit too hard to enjoy as on a steak. So it's going to be a nice thin strip like this. I mean, that's all that I'm going to cut off on this. I'm going to kind of round the edge. There's a little hard part on the edge here. And I'm really feeling like I don't want to cut too much off of this. Again, only the stuff that I feel is hard that won't be palatable even if you cook it. This will, again, I'm going to hold on to, and I'm going to figure out something really special to do with this. And whatever fat I may cut off, I'm going to definitely render and then make American Wagyu beef butter, which is kind of emulating something that we had in Japan. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a couple of knife cuts. I'm going to keep the steaks as is. And then there's one more thing I want to show you. I have a steak that I cut off the original New York strip before it was dry aged, and we're going to compare color. I have it here in the fridge. And I cut this off of the less desirable end. Okay. And I must say that this was frozen. So there's going to be a difference that you're going to see. It's not bright red like it was. But you can definitely see an enhancement of color. The one on your left is the dry aged. The one on your right is the fresh unaged that had been frozen. So we're going to cook both of these up tonight, and we're going to do a side-by-side taste. But I'm guessing this one's going to get my vote. It's the beauty of the SteakAger, safely dry aging beef in your own home, whether it be an American Wagyu, whether it be a prime from a butcher, or from a big box store, or a choice grade. The SteakAger elevates both tenderness and flavor to levels beyond of what we currently are used to, unless we go out and spend a lot of money at a restaurant or a butcher to buy already dry-aged beef. So if you don't have a SteakAger, I encourage you to go to www.thesteakager.com and order one up, and join the SteakAger family Facebook page and get all the information. And the people there are amazing, and everyone is there to help each other to dry age successfully with the SteakAger. So Chef Eric here. I'll see you on the next SteakAger video.